It's Daniel, aka Danny Gossip Girl. I've got the scoop on Bravo and Blinds. Let's go. When the stars come out to play, you know where to stay. Tune into the buzz, it's the talk of the day. From Bravo shows to the latest celeb spree, we've got the tea, come sip it with me. Danny Gossip Girl, Pop Culture Exposé. We're spilling all the secrets every single day. From Hollywood lights to the gossip blinds. Catch the news, don't get left behind.
Today it's not Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, it's Where in the World is Enty Lawyer. For nearly 2 decades, he positioned himself as the anonymous gatekeeper of Hollywood secrets. He claimed to be a powerful entertainment attorney with A-list clients, privy to insider scandals, publishing what mainstream media wouldn't touch. He built an empire off whispers, off blind items, off implication, off of the mystique of knowing more than everyone else. And then, without warning, his YouTube channel vanished. No goodbye, no explanation, no transparency, just gone. And when a man who built his career on exposing others suddenly disappears, people start asking two questions. Enty Lawyer is the synonym creator behind Crazy Days and Nights, a site that exploded in popularity in the late 2000s and 2010s. His formula was simple: publish vague and suggestive blind items, let readers speculate in the comments, reveal answers later, and never fully provide documentation, like never. He claimed legitimacy through being anonymous. He insisted he was a practicing attorney. He implied proximity to elite circles. He framed himself as protected by attorney-client privilege. But here's what never materialized. No verifiable proof of major A-list legal representation. No confirmed industry credentials tied to the persona. No documented record that matched the grandiose claims. And this has been documented by Layla Shapiro of The New Yorker. Eventually, independent researchers and former insiders began publicly identifying the man behind the curtain as John Nelson, including myself. Once a name attaches to being anonymous, this mystique weakens. And once people start checking facts against claims, the cracks widen. So, in recent months, his YouTube channel, where he expanded into longer commentary, live discussions, and monetized content, suddenly disappeared. No public strike explanation, no formal platform statement, no pinned update. His audience spiraled. Theories spread immediately. He was silenced. Powerful elites shut him down. He got too close to something. It was Epstein-related retaliation. And this is where the narrative gets dramatic. But we have to separate drama from evidence. Then there is the Epstein theory. And for some background, I did previously collaborate with him on it due to the 42 by 42 inches big Epstein network map that I put together. So we do have some history together. But during this renewed public scrutiny surrounding Jeffrey Epstein, Enty significantly increased content discussing alleged celebrity ties, speculation about sealed court names, theories about who would be implicated, and suggestive commentary about institutions. His audience viewed this as bold, as fearless, as dangerous, which I get it. I've been there, done that with him, and I collaborated with him on it. But now I know what I know, and we'll get into that in a bit. So anyways, when his channel vanished, many connected the dots. But here's the issue. Epstein coverage is everywhere now. Major networks, independent investigative journals, see Aaron Parnas, Becca Day, court document analysis, true crime creators, law channels. They are not being systematically erased. And if he was going to get erased, he would have gotten erased 8 years ago when he was first covering it. If covering Epstein were enough to trigger removal, the internet would look very different right now. So the he was silenced for Epstein theory sounds cinematic, but it doesn't hold up under scrutiny. Now, let's get into what was officially said and, what wasn't. In February 2026, Enty posted on X claiming that YouTube removed his channel for spam, deceptive practices, or scams. That is the official category, not Epstein, not RICO, which we'll get into, and not defamation, spam and deceptive practices. According to him, the appeal was handled by AI and did not include specific examples of the violation. He denied wrongdoing and implied the system was flawed. Now, here's where things get interesting. There has been no public statement from YouTube beyond the generic policy classification, and there have been no official confirmation from the Kardashian Jenner family regarding any involvement. But, it's alleged it might be because of what he spoke about with them. So the speculation exploded immediately. Now, why? Because shortly after this YouTube takedown, Enty released content making explosive allegations involving members of the Kardashian Jenner family, tying them to renewed public interest in the Epstein files, which, to my knowledge, I don't think that they are in the Epstein files. Surprisingly, he reportedly made claims about Kylie Jenner's wealth, allegations of money laundering, and something he referred to as surrogacy fraud. Serious claims, highly defamatory if untrue, and then almost immediately after an episode that reportedly included both Kardashians and Epstein in the title, the channel disappeared. Fans started connecting the dots again. They pointed to what they called the Kardashian curse, a theory that channels covering the family in certain ways get mass reported or face escalation. I thought that only had to do with the men that they date. Now, to be clear, though, there is no verified proof that the family triggered the takedown, although if they did, kudos to them. But here is documented reality. The Kardashian Jenner family has a well-established history of aggressive legal responses to defamation, false business claims, and unauthorized commercial use of their likeness. They do not ignore high visibility allegations, and context matters. Now, by 2026, Enty was no longer an anonymous figure, in case you guys were not aware. His identity had been publicly linked to John Nelson in early 2024. Yes, say hello to John Nelson, the man behind the mask. So that unmasking changed everything, because once that anonymous facade disappears, legal exposure increases. Anonymous gossip blogger, harder to pursue. Named individual tied to specific claims, much easier target for direct legal notices, platform complaints, and formal escalation. The timing is everything. The takedown came after the public identification of Nelson, escalating personal credibility challenges and increasingly high-risk allegations aimed at extremely powerful individuals, which raises a far more grounded explanation. If a channel repeatedly makes monetized content that could be interpreted as misleading, unverified, or defamatory, it can fall under YouTube's spam and deceptive practices policy. Not because of secret cabals, but because platforms are increasingly aggressive about misinformation and harassment risk, especially once a creator is identifiable. And that is much less cinematic explanation, but it is more plausible one. Now, does that mean powerful legal teams weren't watching? No. Does that mean coordinated reporting couldn't have happened? Not necessarily, but there is a massive difference between silence for exposing Epstein and removed after escalating unverified claims about extremely litigious public figures while no longer being anonymous. One is dramatic and the other is structurally logical. And when you step back from the emotion, the second explanation requires far fewer leaps, which brings us to the larger point. When your brand is built on implication without documentation, when you monetize high-risk allegations, when being anonymous when shielded you and that shield is gone, the margin for error disappears. And sometimes that looks like a conspiracy. Is it simply the consequences of playing a very dangerous game for a very, very, very long time? I mean, we're talking over 2 decades. Now that we shift, though, from the speculation to something far more tangible, because the real collapse of Enty's credibility didn't start with Epstein. It started with personal allegations. Cassandra Cross, who has spoken publicly and consistently about her experience, detailed a troubling relationship dynamic involving the man identified as John Nelson. Her claims include emotional manipulation, financial exploitation, coercive control, gaslighting, isolation tactics, power imbalance through the use of him being anonymous, and also pretending to be a high-power attorney. Yes, she has described a pattern of behavior that contrasts sharply with the persona of morally righteous truth exposer. And here's what makes this important. Her allegations are not anonymous blind items. She put her name behind them. She went on record. She did interviews. She provided timelines. She shared documentation. She even handed over her full laptop, all of the documentation, to the reporters and to myself. And the pattern she described mirrors something chilling. The same manipulation style embedded in the blind item culture itself. Being anonymous, implication, power through secrecy, control through the information imbalance. And when someone builds a brand on exposing others while privately engaging in alleged exploitative behavior, that's not irony. That's being a hypocrite. For years, Enty published blind items implying sexual misconduct, trafficking involvement, drug schmug abuse, abuse of power, often targeting women, often targeting young actresses, often targeting individuals with no recourse. These posts live forever. They get screen grabbed, archived, shared, reposted, and many of them were never verified, had no substance, no proof behind them. Meanwhile, Cassandra alleges experiencing a personal version of the same power imbalance. When those allegations surface, something shifted. The audience fractured. Former loyal followers began reevaluating everything, especially myself. Because if someone is willing to manipulate privately, what are they willing to fabricate privately? Now, let's separate influence from credibility. Enty was influential. He drove traffic. He shaped online gossip culture and pop culture. He predicted some celebrity stories before mainstream confirmation. I have to give him his flowers for that. But predicting a few events doesn't validate hundreds upon thousands of unverified claims. Even conspiracy theories occasionally guess correctly. Talk to the greatest of them. Credibility requires documentation, transparent sourcing, corrections when wrong, which seldom happens with him, accountability. Being anonymous is not an institution. It is not journalism. And when the mask drops, credibility must stand on its own. But here's the shock and awe moment. Regardless of why the channel disappeared, the damage to credibility had already been done, because when personal allegations surface, when former insiders speak, when timelines contradict, when promises of evidence never materialize, the aura collapses. And once an anonymous truth teller is revealed to be deeply flawed, possibly manipulative, possibly exploitative, the brand doesn't recover, at least in my opinion. The myth of Enty Lawyer was built on power, the power of suggestion, the power of secrecy, the power of implying criminality without proof. But power without accountability is not truth. It is theater, and when serious topics like trafficking, abuse, and corruption are turned into monetized content without documentation, it harms real investigation. It muddies real victims' voices. It creates noise where clarity is needed. He should not be considered a credible investigative authority. There are better researchers out there, better documentarians, better journalists, better deep divers, people who pull court filings, cite sources, show evidence, stand behind their work. If Enty reemerges on YouTube, I'm sure, of course, the internet will probably buzz. If he stays gone, the silence will speak. But either way, the era of the blind faith and anonymous gossip kings is over. And maybe that's not censorship, but maybe that's accountability finally catching up to a persona that thrived too long in the shadows. Now, make sure to check out the 5-episode deep dive that I did breaking down the man that is Enty Lawyer, and prior to that doing the history of gossip and blind items, and before that doing the history of pop culture. It is a really good deep dive, especially if you really want to know the man and the web that he has created and how dangerous and twisted it is. Also, check me every Wednesday live on the Villa Download on YouTube, Spotify, wherever you listen to podcasts, as we go live every Wednesday talking about all things pop culture and reality TV.
Tune into the buzz, it's the talk of the day. From Bravo shows to the latest celeb spree, we've got the tea, come sip it with me. Danny Goss and the Pop Culture Exposé.